The coach opened the application form in his hand. He looked at the content with disbelief. The man in the yellow shirt covered his mouth and shook his head. Another coach said it wasn't a joke. The man said that players had to change their address when transferring schools. But the coach said the player lived with his father. The man couldn't understand why they had trained them for so long, and now they were transferred to an enemy school. It turned out that the man's team had always been at a low level. No one wanted to waste their youth here. He opened the door helplessly and left. The woman looked at the pregnancy test box in her husband's hand. She explained that she had intended to throw it away. She just wanted to get pregnant too much. It was just her imagination. The man put down the pregnancy test box and sat on the chair. The woman said they had tried for 4 years for a child, but got nothing. Then she put the finished vegetable platter on the table. The woman patiently looked at the man and comforted him that she loved him. When the man returned home at night, his wife had seen a doctor and thought there was a physical problem with her husband. She asked if the man was afraid of the doctor's examination. The man nodded. The coach stood in front of the players and scolded them for their incompetence. He held a clipboard in his hand and pointed out their mistakes one by one. He was disgusted with the indifferent atmosphere of the team. The boy came home with a brush in his hand and told his father what happened today. Then he asked if the boy was going to join the school team. But the boy didn't know, because his ability was too low. The father comforted the boy. But the boy was glad that he didn't participate in the game after it ended. The father dismissed the boy and pushed his wheelchair to brush the wooden cabinet by himself. Even though the man was paralyzed in both legs, he still tried hard to reach the top. As expected, the man failed. But the father explained that he was too ambitious. In the evening, the exhausted coach came home and said that he heard the news that he was going to be replaced when he locked the door. Because in their view, the coach was a burden and couldn't win at all. His wife patiently comforted him and said someone still supported him. The coach said they had lost confidence in him. He couldn't understand why he couldn't win even though he worked so hard. A series of setbacks made the coach wonder what to do. He asked God for help but got no response. Two men were discussing the construction site of the reservoir. The man on the phone told the other man that his son had come to see him. The man next to him asked nervously if he should leave. The man said no and let his son come in directly. The boy stood nervously at the door and watched his father silently. He explained the reason for coming to see the man and just wanted to apologize for his behavior. The boy said he found God today and would respect the man in the future and listen to him. The man next to him asked to leave. The father said it was okay, but he was wondering why the boy suddenly changed. After the game, the man took his handbag and walked towards his parking space. But he didn't expect his car to be gone. The man noticed the note on the car window. It said, "God uses you to meet our needs in life. Now we want to meet your needs. This car belongs to you now." The man couldn't believe what was written on the paper. His eyes sparkled with tears. He repeated over and over that this was his car. The man touched his head with emotion. The wife smiled at her husband, who bought flowers and said he was thoughtful. The man said he wanted to give his wife a special evening and invited her to dinner at her favorite restaurant. The man said he wanted to buy the biggest flower and then told his wife the good news of his salary increase. The wife covered her mouth with surprise. But the wife vomited again that day. The woman asked her what it felt like and if she had eaten anything strange. The wife said she only ate some nuts. The woman reminded the wife to see a doctor. The wife held her forehead, but said she had already been to the doctor 3 times. The next day, the wife reluctantly went to the hospital. The nurse looked at the familiar woman again and said uncertainly that the woman might be pregnant this time. The nurse shook her head at the report in her hand. Obviously, the woman still wasn't pregnant this time. The disappointed woman prayed to God that she still believed in him. Then the nurse realized she had read the report wrong. She realized it was her mistake. She quickly called out to the woman who was about to leave and told her the good news. The commentator leaned towards the microphone, continuously reporting on the status of the game. Due to the huge difference in the number of players on both sides, the score gap was large. The commentator in a black jacket said to the microphone that if the man's team lost one more point, they would lose completely. The current score was 20-14. At this time, the Eagles team made a substitution. The commentator pointed out the weakness of the boy on the field. He was very accurate, but only within a short distance. Sweating profusely, the boy looked at the coach and said he wanted to take a break. But the coach encouraged the boy that it was a crucial moment, and the team couldn't do without him. The coach asked the boy to make 4 more landings. The boy agreed. Soon, 4 landings were completed. But at this moment, the crucial kick was handed to the boy again. The boy was nervous and looked at the coach through his helmet, saying he couldn't do it. But the coach assured him to kick confidently, and that God would bless him. The boy's father also stood up and cheered for the boy. Soon, the boy kicked the ball. The ball made a beautiful arc in the air and finally landed steadily in the basket. They won.